Today I'm going to talk to you about the A7C and the A5100 and why I have both cameras and just kind of compare them a little bit. I know nobody uses the A5100 anymore, but I still think it's like a really good camera, and I think it's like especially good for people that don't have the money for like a more expensive camera. So anyway, we're going to get into it and discuss like the similarities, the differences, and the pros and cons. So I've had the A5100 for the last few years. Right now I have a 24mm G Master on this lens, which is probably, I mean, you can look at it. It's like taking over the whole camera here. You definitely, you don't want to spend the money on this lens and put it on this camera, but this camera is so cool just because how small it is. If you can, I don't know if you can see it here, but it is tiny. So the A5100 is the smallest camera that Sony has for like larger sensors. So this is an APS-C sensor, whereas the A7C, which I'm filming on right now, is a full frame sensor. All right, so first off, we're gonna talk similarities. So both the A7C and the A5100, they both have like a flip screen. The A5100 kind of flips up like this, which is a little bit annoying, whereas the A7C, it flips out. I prefer the flip out screen. This one is fine if you're doing vlogging, but there's no viewfinder on this camera. So if you're doing like any work and you're just trying to look at the screen while you're filming, it's like a pain in the neck, because if the sun is out and it's bright, or if the sun's in your eyes at all and you're looking down at this, the sun is also down on this. So you almost need like some sort of shade to be able to block out the reflection so you can see the screen, because the screen doesn't get that bright. So like that's one of the major cons of this camera. Another similarity with this camera is the A7C and A5100, they're both aimed at like vloggers or content creators. So if you're doing video or even photography, you can use either one of these cameras to be able to vlog, to be able to see yourself while you're filming. You can also do photography. I've actually used both these cameras at a wedding. I use the A5100 as my backup camera and the A7C as my main camera. I know this is not ideal, and no one would do this in 2022, but I just wanted to experiment with it. I wasn't really getting paid for this wedding, and so I just thought it would be kind of fun to try it out, and I thought it worked out great. Shooting a wedding on the A5100 and A7C was actually really cool because I had like these small cameras and lenses, and I was able to just kind of shoot just using my small Peak Design 5-liter camera bag, and then I put my A5100 on the outside, so it was just super like practical and easy, and I was able to be versatile by using two different lenses quickly and efficiently. Another similarity with the A7C and A5100 is they both have similar menu screens. Sony is notorious for having like poor menus, and this is definitely displayed in the A7C and A5100, but I get used to customizing buttons, so it's not like a big issue for me. Okay, so what are the main differences with these cameras? The A5100 like has this terrible flip screen. I really like the flip screen of the A7C, but if you're just doing stuff like what I'm doing right now, like inside and doing video, or like maybe you're going outside and you're doing some video in the shade, like you don't need the A7C for the flip screen. But that's just kind of just one thing that annoys me with this camera, is I don't love the flip screen with it. Another difference between these cameras is this camera, the A5100, does not have a microphone port. So it's crazy. It has like has a charging port, it has an HDMI out, but there is no like microphone input. So there's no hot shoe up here either. So like if you wanted to do any photography with an off-camera flash, you can't do that. It does have like a pop-up flash, but so you could use it maybe as a slave, but there's no hot shoe, no way to plug in a mic. So you have to use like an external recorder and then sync your audio in post. Another key difference is the A5100 does not have a ton of buttons. As you can see, there's not like hardly any buttons on top. You can turn the power on. You can actually zoom in and out. It has that feature. But there are like minimal buttons. There's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 buttons on this thing. So like if you want to do any customizing, you can't do it with the A5100. This is a great camera if you want to just quickly do a video, or if you're doing a video from home, or if you're doing like photography and you just want to get a quick shot. Another key difference between these cameras is this camera is so much cheaper. You can buy 5 of these to equal the price of the A7c. I really don't think the A7c is worth the price. I just have it because I love the camera. I love that it's small and lightweight and it's easy to take around with me. I like the portability for doing landscape photography and just throwing it in my bag and just having something small. But I don't think it's worth the price. Like, I feel like it should be $1,300 or $1,200. I think it really should be like in the $1,000 range, like the Canon RP. But anyway, this camera is so affordable. If you're new to vlogging or if you're new to photography and you don't have a lot of money, you don't need the best gear. So the A5100 is just an awesome tool that you can use to get started, and then you can just buy some cheap lenses to go with it. So I would say if you're just starting out, get the A5100. You can buy a ton of lenses for the price of what you can get the A7C. And then just like start filming and doing photography, and I think that's just a way easier to get started. The A7C is a great camera, but it's not like vastly better than the A5100. It has a little bit better colors in it. The flip screen is a little bit better. You're gonna have the microphone ports, which are really nice. So if you have the money, get the A7C, but if you're just starting out, A5100 all the way. And if you don't have the flip screen with the A5100, get the A6100. I mean, it's almost twice the price, but that's like the next step up. You could also, for about the same price as the A5100, is get the A6000. That's probably like the most popular camera today, just because of the price point. But the A6000 has a hot shoe on it. It doesn't have a flip screen, and it has those audio inputs for microphones. So that's super handy and nice if you just have to have those inputs. So what are the pros and cons of the A5100? We're gonna start out with the cons. That is gonna be the flip screen is just annoying and distracting, like in harsh light. The microphone inputs is just a big downer if you're gonna be planning on doing any audio with this. Another con is going to be colors. The A5100 does not have as good of colors as the A7C, but it's not a huge deal breaker. That's something you can edit and post. And then the pros of the A5100 are going to be, it's like really small. It's super awesome for travel or any type of photography. If you do landscape photography, you're going to do like a week backpacking trip or something like that. The A5100 is an awesome camera to just slide in your bag, bring a small lens with you, and pack it in. It's so light and easy to take around with you. You can fit it in your pocket if you don't have a huge lens. And then another thing about the A5100 is that it's just so much more affordable. So that's the other major pro, and I think that's a valid reason for why you should just start out with this camera. So who is the A7C for? I think it's for anyone who can't afford the A7 IV, which I think is kind of the next camera up from the A7C. The A7 IV is an awesome camera. You're gonna get professional quality photos and also video. It has 36 megapixels, so you're gonna be able to crop in. But if you're just using this camera for photos or like street photography or something like that, you're gonna be fine with the A7C. But if you're a hybrid shooter and you're using, if you're doing a lot of filmmaking, the A7 IV is definitely like the way to go, because it is like almost at the level of the A7S3, which is just an awesome filmmaking camera. I think it's the best camera in the industry for video. So if you can't afford the A7 IV, go for the A7C. That's my opinion. I just like that you can do the video audio autofocus, and then it's just small. There's a few features about it that I just like. All right, another reason why you should get the A7C is just that it's lightweight. It's easy to carry around with you. You can put one of those small, tiny lenses on it, like the Samyang 35mm 2.8. That's like, you could almost fit it in your pocket. It's such a small camera, and you're getting the full frame sensor with it. So it's just nice to be able to have that if you're doing any hiking or backpacking and you just need something small and light to carry. Okay, the A7C is also for people who have the budget for it. So if you can afford more than the A5100, if you can spend 5 times that amount on this camera, which I don't think it's worth it, I think the A7C is like a valid option just because it's a really good camera. It has really good video capabilities. And even though the A7 IV is a little bit better, I'm actually not buying the A7 IV because I don't need that professional quality video. I'm just doing videos on YouTube and I'm doing photography, and I do landscape photography too, and I just kind of decided that I don't need that higher megapixel count. I had like the Nikon D100 when it came out. Anyway, the D100 had 6 megapixels, and it was like a great camera. You can do a lot with just 6 megapixels. And the fact that I have 24 megapixels is awesome. So when they come out with cameras like these 45 megapixel cameras, 36 or 60 megapixel cameras, like that's great, but I feel like who is that for? Like that's not for me. I don't think I need, and like more megapixels doesn't really make a difference for me. So anyway, the 24 megapixels is like works perfectly fine for my needs. So that's why I'm just gonna stick with the A7C and not move forward until I see something drastically better. The A7C is also for someone who's a hybrid shooter. So if you're looking to get a little bit better with your photography and your filmmaking, the A7C is definitely a valid option. There are other cameras that you can get in the market. You could get by with the Canon RP for like $700 less. I think the Canon RP is a great camera for anyone starting out. And then what you can do is, it doesn't have the image stabilization, but you can just get a gimbal if you're doing video work, because it also has the flip screen. It has a lot of these features as the A7C, and it's an awesome camera. So I think if you need a step between if you want full frame and you want something in between the a5100 and the A7C, I would say the Canon RP is like a valid option. It's a great camera. Okay, and then if you want just like a better APS-C camera, I would say go the a6100 route. All right, so I hope you like this video, and if you can, please like this video. That always helps and makes a difference. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.